We need the sound.
So we look at social media apps and mobile games, basically all the things that digital consumers currently enjoy interacting with, and then mimic the behaviors there and like what people like about those platforms, and then infuse that into Wyzerr.
How I look at it is more natural. What I do as a creative director is pay a lot of attention to how people interact with their mobile devices now. So we mimic a lot of the behaviors in mobile apps. So when you think about Instagram, somebody goes through and they're searching a profile for a picture that they want to show their friends. It's almost second nature. They click on things, they swipe off, and they feel complete control of the experience. And we want to bring that same feel to the survey space, where you can feel in complete control as you provide data back to the business owner. And by doing that, what we are hoping is that we can create more habits around providing data, because consumers will actually be able to see how their data is reshaping their experience.
Feedback from your customers. It's wisdom made easy. Wyzerr Smart Forms are customer feedback experiences that you play like your favorite mobile games. Your customers will actually want to give you feedback. And when you have better information, you make better decisions. With Smart Forms, your customers can answer up to 25 questions in under 60 seconds, and you get the data in real time. So be smart. Get Wyzerr.
Wyzerr builds surveys and analytic tools that are fun, fast, and easy. So we look at social media apps and mobile games, basically all the things that digital consumers currently enjoy interacting with, and then mimic the behaviors there and like what people like about those platforms, and then infuse that into Wyzerr.
How I look at it is more natural. What I do as a creative director is pay a lot of attention to how people interact with their mobile devices now. So we mimic a lot of the behaviors in mobile apps. So when you think about Instagram, somebody goes through and they're searching a profile for a picture that they want to show their friends. It's almost second nature. They click on things, they swipe off, and they feel complete control of the experience. And we want to bring that same feel to the survey space, where you can feel in complete control as you provide data back to the business owner. And by doing that, what we are hoping is that we can create more habits around providing data, because consumers will actually be able to see how their data is reshaping their experience.
Wyzerr, the world's most powerful way to collect feedback from your customers. It's wisdom made easy. Wyzerr Smart Forms are customer feedback experiences that you play like your favorite mobile games. Your customers will actually want to give you feedback. And when you have better information, you make better decisions. With Smart Forms, your customers can answer up to 25 questions in under 60 seconds, and you get the data in real time. So be smart. Get Wyzerr.
surveys and analytic tools that are fun, fast, and easy. So we look at social media apps and mobile games, basically all the things that digital consumers currently enjoy interacting with, and then mimic the behaviors there and like what people like about those platforms, and then infuse that into Wyzerr.
How I look at it is more natural. What I do as a creative director is pay a lot of attention to how people interact with their mobile devices now. So we mimic a lot of the behaviors in mobile apps. So when you think about Instagram, somebody goes through and they're searching a profile for a picture that they want to show their friends. It's almost second nature. They click on things, they swipe off, and they feel complete control of the experience. And we want to bring that same feel to the survey space, where you can feel in complete control as you provide data back to the business owner. And by doing that, what we are hoping is that we can create more habits around providing data, because consumers will actually be able to see how their data is reshaping their experience.
Is Wyzerr, the world's most powerful way to collect feedback from your customers. It's wisdom made easy. Wyzerr smart forms are customer feedback experiences that you play like your favorite mobile games. Your customers will actually want to give you feedback. And when you have better information, you make better decisions. With smart forms, your customers can answer up to 25 questions in under 60 seconds, and you get the data in real time. So be smart. Get Wyzerr.
Wyzerr builds surveys and analytic tools that are fun, fast, and easy. So we look at social media apps and mobile games, basically all the things that digital consumers currently enjoy interacting with, and then mimic the behaviors there and like what people like about those platforms, and then infuse that into Wyzerr.
How I look at it is more natural. What I do as a creative director is pay a lot of attention to how people interact with their mobile devices now. So we mimic a lot of the behaviors in mobile apps. So when you think about Instagram, somebody goes through and they're searching a profile for a picture that they want to show their friends. It's almost second nature. They click on things, they swipe off, and they feel complete control of the experience. And we want to bring that same feel to the survey space, where you can feel in complete control as you provide data back to the business owner. And by doing that, what we are hoping is that we can create more habits around providing data, because consumers will actually be able to see how their data is reshaping their experience.
This is Wyzerr, the world's most powerful way to collect feedback from your customers. It's wisdom made easy. Wyzerr smart forms are customer feedback experiences that you play like your favorite mobile games. Your customers will actually want to give you feedback. And when you have better information, you make better decisions. With smart forms, your customers can answer up to 25 questions in under 60 seconds, and you get the data in real time. So be smart. Get Wyzerr.
Wyzerr builds surveys and analytic tools that are fun, fast, and easy. So we look at social media apps and mobile games, basically all the things that digital consumers currently enjoy interacting with, and then mimic the behaviors there and like what people like about those platforms, and then infuse that into Wyzerr.
How I look at it is more natural. What I do as a creative director is pay a lot of attention to how people interact with their mobile devices now. So we mimic a lot of the behaviors in mobile apps. So when you think about Instagram, somebody goes through and they're searching a profile for a picture that they want to show their friends. It's almost second nature. They click on things, they swipe off, and they feel complete control of the experience. And we want to bring that same feel to the survey space, where you can feel in complete control as you provide data back to the business owner. And by doing that, what we are hoping is that we can create more habits around providing data, because consumers will actually be able to see how their data is reshaping their experience.
Oke, selamat pagi.
Selamat pagi.
Selamat pagi semua. Selamat datang di webinar kita pagi ini. Saya cuma akan bacakan sedikit saja bahwa teman-teman yang datang hari ini audionya di-mute oleh host. Mohon menyalakan video teman-teman semua supaya kita bisa bisa lihat, bisa saling nanti kita berkenalan di saat sesi tanya jawab ya, Bung Iwan ya.
Ya.
Kemudian apabila ada pertanyaan atau ada hal yang ingin disampaikan bisa dituliskan melalui chat box yang ada di bawah. Terus nanti stay sampai selesai webinarnya, kita ada quiz dengan hadiah yang menarik. Itu aja dari kami. Terima kasih. Selanjutnya saya serahkan kepada Bung Iwat.
Oke, terima kasih Bu Linda. Selamat pagi pemirsa semua yang berada di Jakarta dan di Ambon. Selamat subuh pemirsa yang berada di London dan juga di Holland. Selamat siang yang berada di Australia dan selamat sore yang berada di Amerika. Pada hari ini kita akan mendengarkan cerita kesuksesan dalam membangun suatu perusahaan atau usaha dalam teknologi yang dibawakan oleh Natasia Maleholo. Sebentar lagi kita akan mendengarkan langsung dan akan ada sesi tanya jawab di akhir bagaimana perjalanan dari Natasia Maleholo bisa mencapai suatu kesuksesan yang disebut startup company sampai hari ini dan dikenal di dunia dengan nama perusahaannya itu Wyzerr. Nah, bagi para pemirsa semua, nanti kita juga berikan ada 5 orang pertama untuk melakukan tanya jawab secara live. Jadi akan ditentukan oleh host siapa yang akan bisa melakukan tanya jawab secara live di akhir pembahasan dari Natasia Maleholo. Kita semua sangat bersyukur dan sangat beruntung memiliki Natasia Maleholo karena beliau begitu sibuk sekali dengan semua pekerjaan dan usaha yang dilakukan di Amerika. Untuk mendapatkan waktunya berbicara pada ketong semua, kita semua, Mbak Saudara Maluku khususnya, dan semua pemirsa lainnya di Indonesia maupun di negara-negara lainnya. Jadi tanpa panjang lebar, sama-sama kita ucapkan selamat datang Natasia Maleholo di Bacarita dari Timur. Dan selamat sore Natasia, it's great to have you today and I'm sure that everyone is excited and can't wait to hear your story. Here's Natasia Maleholo.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Natasia Maleholo. I guess we're going to start I have a presentation, so I guess we're going to start that. Okay, go ahead to the next slide. So I was born in Ambon in 1987, and I came to America in 1989. So I was about 2 years old. And actually on the slide here, this is a picture of me in Ambon on the left, and then my passport photo, the black and white, and then my mom and my dad. So my dad is Oni Maleholo, and my mom is Anshe Lopez.
Oke, nama saya Natasia Maleholo, saya lahir di Ambon, saya datang di Amerika pada tahun 1989, seperti ada di dalam foto ini. Ini foto pertama yaitu waktu saya 7 bulan di Ambon, ini foto paspor saya tahun 1989, dan ini bersama dengan ayah saya, Oni Maleholo, dan juga ibu saya, Anshe Maleholo.
Next slide. So I eventually went to Berkeley for school, and I studied computer science and legal studies as a double major. And actually in these pictures here are a couple of pictures while I was at Berkeley. So the first picture, I was involved with the Berkeley Indonesian Student Association, which is a lot of students that are from Indonesia that was studying at Cal. And then this is actually pictures from my graduation.
Oke, saya sekolah di University of California Berkeley, di mana saya mengambil 2 degree, yaitu Computer Science dan juga ilmu hukum. Dan seperti di dalam foto ini, saya aktif di student Indonesia di Berkeley, dan foto di sebelahnya adalah di mana saya waktu lulus di Universitas California Berkeley.
So after I graduated, I worked as a patent specialist, first here in Silicon Valley, and then I moved to Washington, D.C., where I went to law school and continued to work as a patent specialist.
Oke, setelah saya selesai sekolah saya di UC Berkeley, saya bekerja di Silicon Valley sebagai patent spesialis. Lalu setelah itu saya pindah ke Washington DC juga sebagai patent specialist.
So in 2012, my first company, a social media app called Sooligan, and the idea for the app was to help people that were new in a city to find information about the things around them.
Jadi perusahaan pertama yang saya bangun itu di tahun 2012, yaitu Sooligan, di mana ini aplikasi untuk membantu mereka-mereka yang baru datang di kota itu untuk mencari informasi-informasi yang mereka butuhkan.
And the idea for that company actually started because I was moving around a lot, and every time I moved to a new city, I didn't have any way of finding information. I was on Facebook and Twitter, but everyone that I followed were people that I knew, and so it was just really hard for me to find information. So I started the company basically to solve my own problems.
Jadi ide dari saya membangun perusahaan ini karena saya sering berpindah-pindah dan setiap kali saya datang di kota baru, itu sulit sekali saya untuk mencari informasi-informasi yang saya butuhkan. Kadang-kadang saya harus masuk ke Facebook, ke Twitter, dan orang-orang yang saya tidak pernah kenal, jadi sangat sulit sehingga saya berpikir bagaimana saya membangun suatu aplikasi untuk membantu orang-orang yang baru datang di suatu kota baru.
So in 2013, I was able to find some investors online. So I was just doing a lot of research about how to get funding for my startup. I was able to connect with some investors in Arkansas. And so I quit my job, dropped out of law school, and then moved to Arkansas to build Sooligan. In Arkansas, here in the United States, it's like very different from what I'm used to. And I didn't know anyone, but I just took a leap of faith and moved to Arkansas.
Jadi tahun 2013 saya melakukan banyak sekali penelitian bagaimana untuk bisa membangun usaha saya Sooligan ini. Lalu pada tahun 2013 itu saya mendapat tawaran dari investor untuk pindah ke kota Arkansas, kota di mana saya tidak pernah tinggal di situ, tapi saya hanya dengan memiliki iman saja berpindah ke sana dan berharap saya bisa membangun aplikasi perusahaan saya ini di Arkansas.
Next slide. So while there, before I moved, I was able to recruit one of my best friends from college to come work with me to start this company. We moved there, we lived there for about a year and continued to work on the company, made a lot of connections. One of the connections we made was Walmart, which is headquartered in Arkansas.
Jadi waktu itu saya juga mengajak teman saya, sahabat saya juga bergabung di dalam usaha ini waktu kami berpindah ke Arkansas. Dan di sana kita mulai melakukan koneksi-koneksi dengan berbagai macam perusahaan dan seperti kita tahu bahwa Arkansas adalah rumah dari perusahaan besar sekali yaitu namanya Walmart. Kalau kita melihat Walmart itu turnover-nya itu sekitar 7.600 triliun rupiah. Jadi perusahaan besar sekali ada di Arkansas.
Next slide. So after 2 years of working on Sooligan, the company failed. Basically, I realized that I couldn't grow the company anymore. Nobody was really signing up to use the users. We kind of hit a wall in terms of like raising money. And so in the process of that, I decided that I should have really collected more feedback. And so I started a new company called Wyzerr.
Oke, setelah 2 tahun saya menjalankan usaha Sooligan ini, usaha saya itu gagal karena tidak banyak lagi orang yang registrasi di aplikasi saya ini. Lalu saya mulai berpikir bagaimana mencari alternatif lain dan yang harusnya saya mengumpulkan data-data dari survei-survei dari customer, makanya saya memulai untuk menjalankan usaha yang namanya Wyzerr. Oke, Natasia, let me ask you a question. Mungkin saya bertanya di sini. 2 tahun, okay? You run the company for 2 years. So obviously you have a lot of hopes, a lot of expectation that the company will grow. Sama seperti semua orang yang menjalankan usaha, pasti mereka memiliki impian, mereka memiliki pengharapan bahwa usaha yang mereka jalankan itu akan berhasil. Dan setelah 2 tahun itu waktu yang cukup lama, 2 tahun. Ya, pastinya harapan-harapan itu mulai terlihat. Lalu tiba-tiba berhadapan dengan situasi di mana Natasia harus mengatakan bahwa usaha yang Natasia jalankan itu gagal. So, my question is, pertanyaan saya, how do you feel when you face in that situation? This is the company that you built from scratch, the company that you have so much hope, and you think that it will work. Dan semua perusahaan yang dibangun sendiri oleh Natasia, dan tentunya dengan segala impian yang Natasia miliki, dan berharap bahwa perusahaan ini akan bertumbuh luar biasa, tapi akhirnya gagal. Bagaimana perasaannya Natasia?
Yeah, so I was, of course, really sad because a startup company is kind of like having a baby, I think. You put everything into it, you put all of your money, your time, you give up, hanging out with your family and your friends. I moved to Arkansas, so it's far from everyone. And so I was really sad. I was also really embarrassed and humiliated because, everybody knew that I was working on this company, and now I had to tell everyone that the company was no longer operational. And so I was very embarrassed about having to tell everyone that.
Oke, jadi saya sangat sedih sekali karena membangun sebuah usaha itu seperti memiliki seorang anak di mana kita memberikan seluruh hati kita untuk melihat perkembangan dari anak itu, dan saya bercerita juga bagaimana saya berharap usaha ini bisa berkembang dengan baik. Lalu tiba-tiba usaha ini gagal, sehingga itu saya merasa sangat malu dengan orang-orang di sekitar saya. Cuma ya, ini adalah suatu hal yang saya harus hadapi dengan melihat bagaimana usaha yang saya harapkan berhasil itu tidak berhasil.
So, you can go back to the first slide, the previous slide. Yeah. So Wyzerr is a survey company that is gamified. So the idea is that we try to make it fun, fast, and easy for people to take surveys. Here in the United States, I don't know, what it is around the rest of the kind of in Indonesia, but it seems like every single company sends out a survey after you shop with them or you buy something from them. And so I realized that there was a big market for this because the surveys that they were sending out was really long and boring. And so I wanted to make Wyzerr to make surveys fun and exciting.
Oke, Wyzerr adalah usaha di mana mengambil survei dari customer, dan selama ini saya melihat banyak sekali perusahaan-perusahaan melakukan aplikasi survei, tapi pertanyaannya itu begitu panjang dan begitu membosankan, sehingga saya berpikir bahwa dengan menjalankan aplikasi yang lebih menyenangkan, lebih fun, yaitu Wyzerr, itu akan menolong banyak orang untuk melakukan survei. Oke, Natasia, sorry, if I need to ask you this question before. So if we could go back one slide, like before you get into Wyzerr. Okay, this is the one that Soligan, like, all right, you feel embarrassed, you feel that you like a failure, but what make you got up again? Apa yang membuat Natasia bisa bangkit kembali dan berpikir bahwa usaha yang berikutnya yang akan Natasia lakukan itu akan membawa keberhasilan? Because I know that a lot of people say that for an entrepreneur, for somebody who start a new business, it takes 5 years. That's a critical point. It's 5 years. If you can survive the 5 years, then you know that your business will sustain. Now, you started the business, 2 years, fail. And a lot of people, they have the heartache, obviously, because it's like a baby. When you grow a baby, suddenly you don't see the baby grow anymore. It's just, as a mother, you feel like, oh, what's going on? Ya kan, sebagai seorang yang seperti Natasia bilang bahwa seperti membangun perusahaan itu seperti membina seorang anak. Lalu tiba-tiba dia tidak bertumbuh lagi. Kan banyak hati yang hancur, dan what help you? That will be the question. Apa yang menolong Natasia untuk bisa berpikir I can start another company, I can start another business, and I know it will work. Saya akan mulai lagi dan saya tahu ini bisa berhasil. Sorry, Natasia, you have to go back one step.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so I think from my first company, I had learned a lot about, what works in a business, what I should have did differently, and what I, probably should have focused on. And so I believe that I had a lot of learnings that I could transfer to a new company and then make the second company actually better. So that was number one. Number two, I really now believed in the idea for Wyzerr. So actually, when I decided to start this new company, the same day that I started this new company, I met the owner of like a restaurant, and he came into my office and he asked me what I was working on, and I said, "Oh, I'm working on this new company called survey company that's going to do gamified surveys." And he immediately said, "How much? Like, that's a great idea. How much?" And this was like the first day that I started the company. And he was willing to pay $1,000 to use it. And so I thought, okay, like with this company, I'm making more money than I did with Suligan in the 2 years. So I think there's a market for this. But then number three, my family was.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Natasia belajar banyak sekali dari kegagalan di usaha pertamanya, dan dari apa yang dia pelajari, akhirnya dia melihat bahwa dengan membangun usaha barunya Wyzerr, dia bisa gunakan kesalahan yang dia buat, dan dia lebih meyakini akan usaha barunya ini Wyzerr, yaitu usaha untuk melakukan survei. Dan dari pengalamannya waktu dia bertemu dengan seorang pemilik restoran, dan si pemilik restoran ini mengatakan pada dia, "Apa yang sedang kamu lakukan?" Dia bilang, "Saya sedang melakukan survei." Lalu si pemilik restoran bertanya, "Berapa untuk saya bisa memiliki aplikasi survei ini?" Dan dia membayar kurang lebih $1.000 untuk bisa memiliki aplikasi survei itu, dan itu aja udah penghasilannya lebih dari 2 tahun dia menjalankan Suligan. Sorry, Natasia, go ahead.
And then the third thing I would say is that my family was very supportive throughout my working on Suligan. And I had even my aunt, like she was paying some of my bills, my brothers and sisters were helping pitch in for some of my expenses. And so I just believe that they would support a new business if I started it as well.
Oke, jadi keluarga saya sangat suportif sekali terhadap saya. Tante saya, kakak-kakak adik saya semua membantu, bahkan membayar beberapa tagihan-tagihan. Jadi saya melihat bahwa mereka betul-betul percaya dan memberikan dukungan pada saya terhadap apa yang sedang saya lakukan.
Next slide. So after the first year of working at Wyzerr, unfortunately, things became really hard again. We were turned down by a lot of investors, and we didn't have much money to keep going. In April of 2015, about a year after I started Wyzerr, I was about to shut down the company.
Jadi setelah tahun pertama menjalankan Wyzerr, kembali lagi kita dihadapi oleh tantangan yang begitu berat. Tidak banyak orang yang mau berinvestasi di usaha Wyzerr ini, dan pada waktu itu saya berpikir di 2015 bulan April saya berpikir untuk menutup usaha Wyzerr saya ini.
Then, out of the blue, I received a phone call from a stranger to come to Detroit for a pitch competition. There was like a cash prize of like $25,000. And I figured, and they were paying for all of my flight, my hotel, and I figured there's nothing to lose here. I could only gain. So I decided to go to Detroit. And again, never been to Detroit, but I took a leap of faith and went to Detroit.
Oke, waktu itu saya mendapat telepon dari orang mengajak saya untuk datang ke Detroit. Di situ ada kompetisi di mana memberikan hadiah sekitar $25,000. Saya tidak pernah pergi atau pernah datang di kota Detroit, tapi sekali lagi saya berangkat ke Detroit dengan hanya bermodalkan iman saja.
Next slide. So I didn't win the pitch competition, but while I was there, an investor was in the audience, and he came up to me after the competition and said, you didn't win the $25,000, but I'll give you $50,000 if you move your company to Cincinnati. Again, I didn't have, I had never been to Cincinnati, but I took a leap of faith and decided to move to Cincinnati.
Oke, jadi saya tidak menang kompetisi di Detroit itu, tapi waktu saya di sana ada orang yang menawarkan saya $50,000 tapi syaratnya saya harus pindah ke kota Cincinnati. Saya sendiri tidak pernah tinggal dan tidak pernah datang di kota itu, tapi saya tetap berangkat ke sana dengan bermodalkan iman saja, berangkat ke Cincinnati.
So I didn't have any money at the time, as you know, because I still didn't have any money then. So I only had like $9 left. So a friend of mine bought my plane ticket. Someone else paid for like my baggage fee, my Uber ride. And then when I got to Cincinnati, I told one of my friends that, hey, you know, I only have $9. So he gave me $20 to buy a hamburger. So in total, I basically moved all the way to Cincinnati, which is in a different state. At the time I was living in California with $29.
Oke, saya nggak punya uang banyak waktu saya harus berangkat ke Cincinnati. Uang saya hanya $9 saja. Lalu saya bilang ke teman saya waktu saya sampai di Cincinnati bahwa uang saya itu cuma $9. Terus dia berikan saya $20, saya bisa beli hamburger. Jadi betul-betul saya tidak memiliki banyak uang untuk sampai ada di Cincinnati. Okay, let me ask you a question. This is people probably thinks that you're a bit insane, like going around everywhere, not knowing where you're going to the city that you've never been there before in your life. Then you come to Cincinnati with only $9, right? $9 in your pocket, and thinking that, okay, I can start something new, something big in Cincinnati, hoping that this 50,000 investor or the company will give you that 50,000. So what make you have the courage to do that sort of things? Okay, banyak sekali orang berpikir bahwa mungkin apa yang Natasia lakukan ini suatu hal yang aneh dan sangat beresiko, ya kan? Karena berpindah-pindah ke kota-kota yang dia tidak pernah tinggal atau bahkan kunjungi sebelumnya. Dan cerita yang sangat menarik adalah waktu dia harus berpindah ke Cincinnati, di mana hanya dengan memiliki uang $9 dan berharap bahwa nantinya investor yang menawarkan $50,000 itu akan memberikan dia uang itu. Nah, apa sih menjadi asaran keberanian dari Natasia memutuskan semua ini?
Well, I didn't have anything else. You know, I didn't have any money. So I figured when you don't have anything, and you're really at the bottom, you could only go up. And so I figured there's more for me to gain than in going than staying. So I also had faith that, you know, I'm a believer. So I had faith that God would just work everything out.
Okay, is it fair to say that you got like a nothing lose attitude, that you can only go up? The only way is up. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
And yeah, well, I honor that. I mean, it's not many people prepared to do that. Yeah, that's why it's only a few that can make a success in being an entrepreneur, because of the spirit and the attitude that you have is very rare. Jadi yang attitude dari melihat bahwa satu-satunya jalan adalah cuma bisa naik ke atas. Nah, seperti Natasia bilang, bahwa dia sudah di posisi yang paling bawah. Jadi nothing to lose, dia nggak punya lagi pilihan lain kecuali berhasil. Dan ini suatu attitude, sikap yang luar biasa. Ini membedakan seorang pengusaha atau orang yang menjalankan usaha itu sebagai orang yang berhasil atau tidak, karena ada sikap seperti ini. Dan ini keberanian yang mungkin kita sangat hargai dari seorang Natasia Maliholo. Sorry, go ahead, Natasia.
Okay. Next slide. So once I moved to Cincinnati, my first week there, you know, I spent my $29. I was down to $2. So I decided to go to church and that first Sunday. And when I went to the church, as the offering plate came around, something like a little voice inside of me told me to give $1.50. And at the time, I only had $2 left. So, and I didn't have any change because I was already in church. And so I was like, really, God, you're asking me to give you $1.50 and I only have $2. So now I have to give the entire $2. But a little voice kept telling me, just give it. And so again, I was like, well, I don't have any money, so I might as well just give everything that I have. So I gave the $2 in the offering plate.
Oke, jadi waktu seminggu saya di Cincinnati, uang saya itu tinggal $2. Dan saya pergi ke gereja waktu itu, lalu ada pundi-pundi persembahan berjalan, ada suara yang mengatakan pada saya, berikan apa yang kamu punya itu, masukkan ke dalam pundi persembahan itu. Lalu saya berpikir, yang benar aja Tuhan, saya cuma punya $2, maksudnya semuanya saya juga harus berikan ini. Tapi akhirnya saya berpikir lagi, saya mengambil suatu langkah percaya dan iman, saya berikan semua yang saya punya, yang sisa saya yang $2 itu, karena nggak mungkin saya kasih $1.50 seperti suara itu bilang, karena kan harus ambil kembalian. Jadi saya kasih semua yang $2 sisa uang saya itu, saya masukkan ke dalam pundi persembahan itu.
Yes, so and then 3 months later, I was able to, so the investor not just gave $50,000, they ended up giving me $1.5 million.
3 bulan sesudah itu, investor yang tadi bilang memberikan hanya 50.000, ternyata tidak hanya 50.000, dia berikan $1,5 juta.
Yes, and then people just kept wanting to invest. So in total, I actually raised $2 million.
Dan orang terus mau berinvestasi di usaha saya, dan totalnya saya memiliki investasi sebesar $2 juta.
So I like to think it was an exponential growth, like God multiplied that $2 into $2 million.
Jadi saya melihat bahwa adanya suatu faktor multiplikasi yang luar biasa dari $2 yang saya masukkan ke dalam pundi persembahan itu menjadi $2 juta.
Next slide. So with that money, I was able to hire 17 people to come work for Wyzerr. And so we hired a lot of different like engineers, designers to help me really build out the company.
Jadi dengan uang $2 juta itu, saya bisa menyewa atau mengikut pegawai 17 orang, banyak sekali dari para engineer, para desainer untuk aplikasi saya itu.
And I was able to figure out who to hire by setting some goals for myself and then asking my mentors and my advisors, you know, what kind of people do I need in order to reach these goals? And so people that were much more experienced with running a business was able to help me guide who to hire.
Oke, jadi dalam rekrut pegawai, saya juga meminta nasihat masukan dari mentor-mentor saya, mereka-mereka yang telah menjalankan usaha, mereka-mereka yang sudah memiliki banyak pengalaman, siapa-siapa yang perlu saya rekrut untuk di perusahaan saya. This is a very good point, Natasia, because it's not many people understand. Like you just mentioned about mentoring, right? And how important it is really for someone to start the business to have a mentoring system.
Yep.
What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I was a computer science and legal studies major. So I understood the tech, but I was not a business major. I didn't go to business school. So in terms of like running a business or starting a business, I actually was learning on the job and I didn't have any experience. So it was good to have mentors and advisors that actually knew how to run a business.
Saya seorang computer science, dan saya mengerti mengenai teknologi, tapi saya tidak mengerti banyak mengenai bisnis. Sehingga bagus sekali memiliki mentor, orang-orang yang tahu persis mengenai bisnis, bagaimana menjalankan bisnis secara baik. Oleh karena itu, saya meminta nasihat-nasihat dari mereka. So, if someone don't have mentor, quote unquote, or don't know anyone can be their mentor, what would you suggest instead of just mentoring? Is there any other way for them to get help?
Yeah, I mean, so what we did in the beginning, we just went to every single event, like every possible, there's, you know, typically the city or the government will have like business events for business owners. Sometimes different organizations and nonprofits will have business events. We'll go to the colleges. The schools are really, really big in having connections to the right business people. So we would show up, even if it was a school that we didn't attend. Like when I was in Arkansas, we went to the University of Arkansas and, you know, we didn't go to school there. We didn't know anyone there, but we just made friends with the students and then had the students introduce us to their professors and things like that. So there's definitely, you know, get creative about just looking at who's in the city that you're in and, you know, meeting the people that are in the city that you're in.
Oke, jadi banyak sekali kalau kita bertanya mengenai orang seandainya mereka tidak memiliki mentor, apa yang Natasia bisa nasihatkan bagi para pemula-pemula atau mereka yang baru mau menjalankan usaha? Natasia mengatakan bahwa kita harus kreatif. Dia pergi ke beberapa pertemuan-pertemuan yang dilakukan oleh pemerintah setempat, atau dia masuk ke ada rapat-rapat para business owner atau pertemuan para business owner, atau juga pertemuan-pertemuan di university, pertemuan dari non-profit organization, dan bahkan dia pergi ke university bertemu dengan mahasiswa-mahasiswa untuk bertanya, dan bahkan profesor juga untuk bertanya. Contohnya dia pergi ke university di Arkansas yang mana dia tidak sekolah di situ, tapi dia ke sana dengan tujuan ingin belajar. Nah, ini yang nasihat yang sangat luar biasa sekali. Thanks so much, Natasia. Go ahead.
Next slide. So eventually Wyzerr grew really quickly. And so remember when I was in Arkansas, I had met with Walmart for my first company. So Walmart ended up being Wyzerr's very first customer. And after Walmart used Wyzerr, because they're such a big company, everybody wanted to use Wyzerr.
Jadi ingat waktu saya pindah ke Arkansas, di mana di situ adalah kantor pusat dari Walmart. Nah, waktu Wyzerr terbentuk, Walmart menjadi pelanggan kita yang pertama, dan bisa bayangkan karena dia ini perusahaan yang sangat besar sekali. Waktu dia menjadi pelanggan kita yang pertama, perusahaan-perusahaan lain juga ingin menjadi pelanggan dari kita.
So Wyzerr eventually grew. We never spent any money on marketing. It was mostly word of mouth and recommendations. We grew to over 2,200 businesses in actually 53 countries, including Indonesia, that uses Wyzerr for their customer feedback or for their employee feedback.
Jadi perkembangan usaha kita itu berkembang luar biasa sekali, dan tanpa adanya banyak uang yang kita berikan dalam marketing, jadi semua itu dari mulut ke mulut. Dan sekarang kita sudah memiliki lebih dari 2.200 klien yang berada di 53 negara. Indonesia merupakan salah satu negara di mana mereka menggunakan juga aplikasi kita Wyzerr.
Next slide. So companies like Google, they use Wyzerr for different events. And this was actually one of our first events. It was just really exciting for me to see, a company like Google using Wyzerr. This is, if you look on the right, on the cell phone, the giant cell phones, that's actually Wyzerr running. So Google uses Wyzerr for a lot of their conferences and their events.
Jadi kita bisa melihat di sini bahwa Google menggunakan juga aplikasi Wyzerr, dan saya sangat-sangat semangat karena Google merupakan salah satu perusahaan yang besar sekali ini. Di salah satu pertemuan mereka di mana mereka menggunakan di sebelah kanan itu foto di mana aplikasi Wyzerr digunakan untuk melakukan survei dari mereka yang hadir di event itu. Next slide.
And then earlier this year, or actually in June, 2 months ago, we had kind of a dream for a startup founder is to get acquired. So Wyzerr was acquired by Popcom, and so now I work for Popcom. It's less hours, but I'm getting paid more money to do it, and I basically get to still run Wyzerr, but not have to worry about the everyday, problems of a typical business owner.
Impian dari setiap orang yang memiliki startup company adalah mereka berharap suatu hari usaha atau perusahaan mereka itu akan diakuisisi oleh perusahaan-perusahaan besar. Dan ini yang terjadi terhadap Wyzerr. 2 bulan lalu kami diakuisisi oleh perusahaan namanya Popcorn, dan luar biasanya waktu perusahaan ini diakuisisi, saya tidak perlu lagi harus meluangkan lebih banyak waktu saya untuk tiap hari memastikan segala hal-hal yang administrasi di Wyzerr. Semuanya itu bisa saya luangkan dengan hal-hal yang lebih baik waktu saya.
Next slide. So in summary, my 5 secrets to success are God and faith. Like every part of my journey, I just always believed that God was going to help me and had faith that, my everything that I was doing, and whatever I had, even if it was very little, that God would bless it and use it in some way.
Oke, jadi saya ini adalah rahasia kesuksesan saya. Pertama adalah Tuhan dan iman. Jadi setiap perjalanan dalam kesuksesan usaha saya ini, saya tahu bahwa Tuhan pasti akan menolong saya. dia akan membuka jalan bagi saya dan juga keimanan yang saya miliki terhadap itu.
And then my second secret to success is just an idea that I was really passionate about. So Wyzerr, I truly believe that, surveys needed to be better and we were doing it the very best way possible. And that in being like really passionate about ideas is important because there are going to be really hard days. And if you don't really love your idea, it's very easy to give up.
Jadi yang kedua adalah kita harus sangat semangat dengan ide yang kita miliki. Dan saya terhadap Wyzerr, saya sangat-sangat semangat karena saya merasa bahwa untuk melakukan survei itu harus jauh lebih baik dari apa yang sementara itu ada di pasaran. Dan memiliki semangat dan percaya akan ide yang kita miliki itu merupakan kekuatan yang cukup besar di waktu kita hadapi masa-masa sulit dalam kita menjalankan usaha kita. Jadi harus kita mencintai betul ide yang kita miliki.
And the third secret to success is not giving up because someone tells you no. So a lot of people are always going to tell you no. It's actually like a statistic in Silicon Valley that for every 99 no's, you'll finally get one yes. So just be prepared for the 99 no's. It's not everyone is going to believe your idea the first time, but it's okay because as long as you find one person that believes in your idea, you'll keep finding one person.
Oke, jangan pernah menyerah karena seorang mengatakan tidak. Di banyak survei mengatakan sebelum kita mendapat satu kata yes, kita mungkin harus menghadapi 99 kata tidak. Jadi jangan pernah menyerah walaupun ada orang-orang yang bilang bahwa usaha kamu itu tidak akan berjalan. Terus harus tahu dan percaya bahwa usaha itu akan terus berjalan. Okay, let me ask you a question here. I mean, it's easy for people to say no when you don't really know these people, when you don't really, have a close relationship with them. Have you ever got someone that you trust, you know that they're so close to your heart and say no to your idea?
Yeah, my mom. Yeah, I remember the first time I told. Yeah, I remember I told my mom, and she was like, "This is a terrible idea." And she's like, "No one's going to take no one's going to take surveys." But I think also for her, she knew that I was giving up a career to be a lawyer, and that's what she really truly believed that I should be. And so I think for her, being a lawyer was much more concrete than being an entrepreneur. So it did hurt. It did hurt. But again, I believed in my idea so much that I couldn't let her be the distraction for me.
Oke, jadi banyak sekali kalau kita mendengar kata-kata tidak dari orang yang mungkin kita tidak kenal atau yang tidak dekat dengan hati kita, itu mungkin tidak begitu menyakitkan. Pertanyaannya kepada Natasia, apakah pernah ada seseorang yang begitu dekat dengan Natasia yang mengatakan tidak atau tidak percaya dengan idenya? Lalu dia mengatakan adalah ibunya sendiri, karena ibunya selalu merasa bahwa karir yang terbaik adalah untuk dia menjadi seorang lawyer, itu lebih baik daripada menjalankan usaha sendiri. Tapi karena Natasia begitu percaya dengan ide yang dia miliki terhadap usaha Wyzerr ini, maka dia tetap berjalan dan dia berhasil sampai hari ini.
Yep. So the number 4 secret to success is staying focused on the vision. It's really easy to get distracted when you're working on a company that is brand new. It's very easy to be like, oh, I should do this, I should do this, I should do this, and continuing to add different ideas. But you really need to have the very basic part of your company. You don't need to, build this entire company. If you look at Google did not start out with Gmail, YouTube, all of these other things that they have. They just started with a simple search engine. And so just be very narrowly focused on a vision and then just work really hard to get to that vision. Don't be distracted.
Oke, jadi yang keempat adalah tetap fokus terhadap visi kita. Jadi sering kita selalu mendapat gangguan yang membuat kita keluar dari apa impian atau fokus yang kita miliki. Kalau kita melihat perusahaan-perusahaan yang besar seperti Google, YouTube, dan lain sebagainya, mereka awalnya itu hanya fokus pada hal yang betul-betul menjadi dasaran dari semangat mereka awal membangun usaha itu. Sehingga sekarang mereka bisa menjadi begitu besar karena mereka tidak pernah membiarkan ada hal-hal lain yang mengganggu akan fokus atau visi mereka terhadap usaha yang mereka jalankan.
And my last secret to success is put in the work even when you don't feel like it. So just be very disciplined about working on your company every day. So for example, for me, I had a schedule even before I was making any money from Wyzerr. Every day I would wake up at 6 a.m. and work on the company. I would work 8 hours, even though there was really no reason for me to work 8 hours, but every day I wanted to make sure that I was taking several steps forward for my company. And eventually it paid off, but I think only because I was so disciplined.
Oke, jadi yang kelima adalah tetap bekerja di saat kamu merasakan juga untuk tidak merasa mau melakukan pekerjaan itu. Saya tetap bangun jam 6 pagi, saya tetap bekerja keras di dalam usaha saya, di mana sebenarnya saya tidak perlu lakukan itu, tapi saya lakukan itu karena saya tahu dengan itu saya mendisiplinkan diri saya untuk membangun usaha saya. Jadi tetap kerja keras walaupun kita tahu kadang-kadang kita tidak perlu lakukan itu.
Yes, and just my last point on that is, with a startup company, nothing happens unless you make it happen. So, if you work for like a Google, even if you don't show up to work, if one person doesn't show up to work, the company is not going to stop running just because one person doesn't show up to work, or even 100 people don't show up to work. Google's not going anywhere. But at a startup, if you don't show up, literally the company does not move forward. So it's important to show up every day to work on your company.
Oke, jadi waktu kita memulai suatu usaha, kita harus terus datang dan luangkan waktu dan pikiran kita di dalam usaha itu. Berbeda dengan kalau kita bekerja untuk perusahaan besar seperti Google. Kalau Google seandainya kamu tidak masuk ke kantor hari itu, atau 100 orang tidak masuk kantor hari itu, tidak akan membuat perbedaan bagi Google. Tapi menjalankan usaha sendiri, kita harus pastikan bahwa setiap hari kita ada di dalam usaha itu, kita tetap jalankan usaha itu.
That's all that I have. Next slide. So if you want to reach out to me or have any questions, feel free to reach out on my social media. I'm very active. Love Natasia, or I'm on Facebook, Natasia Malihalo. Thank you.
Kalau kita mau kontak Natasia, ini kontak yang ada di sosial media dan cukup aktif di sosial media. Natasia has been a great information. It's unbelievable. I'm sure there's a lot of people that watching this webinar is inspired by your story, and I'm sure that they can use all the information, the knowledge that they can apply it into their business or anything that what they do. And again, Natasia, on behalf of everybody, I'd like to thank you so much for giving your heart and all the knowledge that you shared to all of us today. Thank you, Natasia.
Thank you so much for having me. Terima kasih, Mas Saudara.
Wow, terima kasih Natasia. Actually, we start Daya Dimensi Indonesia di Daya 5 group with 17 people on 1998. So the same when you start Wyzerr.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So if bapak-bapak dan ibu-ibu sekalian, kalau ada yang mau bertanya, kita kasih kesempatan untuk raise hand. Nanti kita unmute audionya, bisa bertanya langsung kepada Natasia ya, Bung Iwat ya.
Ya, langsung ke Natasia dan bisa bertanya dalam bahasa Indonesia karena Natasia mengerti bahasa Indonesia. Tapi dia akan menjawab dalam bahasa Inggris yang nanti saya akan bantu untuk translate.
Ya, silakan di ada tunjuk tangan di sana. Nanti kita akan coba pilihkan. Di sini ada Bung Joy, sama saya lihat lagi ada Ibu Mei. Oke, saya coba dengan Bung Joy ya. Oke, saya unmute. Silakan di-unmute, Bung. Ya, silakan bertanya, Bung.
Oke, terima kasih Ibu Linda juga Pak Iwan yang sudah sangat baik sekali untuk bisa mensponsori kegiatan ini. Kami berterima kasih sekali dan teristimewa untuk Ibu Natasia yang sudah berbagi. Sebenarnya saya juga ingin cerita sedikit bahwa saya juga sedang mengalami kondisi di mana usaha saya pun ada dalam kondisi yang sama. Jadi sampai dengan sekarang ini usaha saya jadi tutup. Saya punya usaha di bidang jasa pengecatan. Jadi kami bergerak di bidang jasa pengecatan, penjualan cat juga. Jadi kami menyediakan jasa pengecatan. Jadi orang datang, mereka beli cat, tapi ada sekalian yang menawarkan kalau kami langsung dengan bisa lakukan pengecatan di mana. Nah, di sini di Maluku kami baru mulai itu dan kami pertama yang melakukan itu. Cuma sampai di sini pas pandemi ini kita juga mengalami sesuatu yang memang tidak bisa diprediksi. Jadi akhirnya kami drop sampai sekarang usaha kami belum jalan lagi. Jadi pertanyaan saya mengenai ini adalah memang dari semua penjelasan dari Ibu Natasia itu Ibu Natasia sangat bagus sekali untuk ini. Cuma pertanyaan saya adalah kalau misalnya kita mencari mentor untuk bisa mentoring kita bagaimana kita memulai kembali usaha ini. Selain kita mungkin berdoa kepada Tuhan, juga mencari mentor dan juga sponsor yang bisa kita dapatkan. Nah, itu dari mana kita bisa menilai sponsor itu bahwa dia punya hati yang tulus untuk bisa membantu kita dalam melihat usaha kita ini, karena tidak semua orang di luar mau menasihati dengan tulus. Mungkin itu pertanyaan saya. Terima kasih Ibu Linda juga Pak Iwan.
Yeah, so in that situation, what I've noticed out here is sometimes you have to kind of change the direction of what you're doing. So right now, I think it sounds like you're selling paint. Maybe there's a way to connect, or do another type of business that you can still use your paint, but maybe instead of selling paint directly, maybe you need to partner with like a construction worker or a home builder, or some kind of organization that actually needs paint to do what they're doing rather than selling paint directly. So I would say first, try to figure out if there's another avenue that you can use your products and your services, maybe not the same way that you're using it before the pandemic, but using it in a different way. And then once you partner with them, there's maybe a way for you to have those construction workers or those builders become your advisors and your mentors.
Oke, jadi apa yang Natasia berikan jawabannya, dia melihat bahwa mencari alternatif lain dari memasarkan produk dan juga jasa yang sedang dijalankan oleh Bung Joy, yaitu cat, produknya cat dan jasanya adalah pengecatan, dengan bekerja sama dengan kayak perusahaan-perusahaan konstruksi atau home builder, di mana nanti di situ terjadi pertukaran pengetahuan juga dari mereka terhadap Bung Joy dalam menjalankan usaha pengecatan dan menjual cat dari produk yang Bung Joy ada, sehingga itu mungkin akan agak berbeda usaha yang Bung Joy jalankan sebelum pandemik dengan usaha sekarang yang setelah pandemik. Jadi harus melakukan networking dan bekerja sama dengan home builder atau construction untuk jalankan itu.
Terjawab yang Bung Joy ya?
Ya Ibu, terima kasih Ibu Linda juga Pak Iwan. Terima kasih buat penjelasannya Ibu Natasia. Terima kasih.
Baik, sebelum saya lihat tadi ada Ibu Mei juga mau bertanya sebentar ya. Ibu Mei, saya unmute. Silakan Ibu Mei.
Ya, terima kasih Natasia untuk informasinya. Tadi saya senang dengan 5 rahasia yang Saudari Natasia bagikan untuk kami. Kemudian pertanyaan saya, tadi saya lihat di dalam tim kerja itu ada 17 orang kalau tidak salah tadi. Nah, pertanyaan saya bagaimana untuk menjaga kekompakan dalam bekerja sebagai tim? Apalagi tadi saya lihat dengan berbagai macam teman-teman ya dari berbagai daerah. Bagaimana itu pasti punya skill khusus juga bagaimana maintain ini hubungan satu sama lain sehingga Wyzerr bisa bertumbuh dengan cepat. Dan terima kasih juga untuk input tentang bagaimana kita juga harus membuka diri, mendengar masukan dari orang-orang yang mempunyai kemampuan lebih dari kita. Itu sangat penting sekali, karena kadang kita pikir kita sudah tahu semua. Jadi orang bilang juga, itu kita sudah tahu. Jadi terima kasih Natasia, and good luck.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so for in hiring the team, again, I leaned on like mentors and advisors to help me figure out who to hire. And then after I hired them, I actually hired an HR manager, an office manager to help manage the team, because I, again, didn't have people skills. You know, it takes a very certain kind of skill set to manage people and like the politics of the office. And so I just wanted to make sure that I didn't get, it seemed like I was one-sided with a certain person or a certain team. And so I hired someone else. So, and I think that brings up a good point about just knowing that as a business owner, you don't have to have all of the answers. You don't have to know how to do everything. I think, being humble and admitting that you don't know everything is probably going to get you further in life than trying to do everything and make it seem like you know everything.
Oke, jadi waktu saya mulai dengan Wyzerr ini, saya meminta banyak nasihat, dan dari nasihat itu akhirnya saya memutuskan untuk rekrut human resources manager, di mana human resources manager ini memiliki people skill untuk menangani konflik atau politik di kantor, karena saya sendiri juga tidak mau terikut di dalam politik di dalam usaha saya yang kelihatan nanti saya akan berpihak di satu pihak. Nah, memang sebagai pemilik usaha kita tidak harus memiliki jawaban atas semuanya. Oleh karena itu pentingnya untuk kita mempunyai kerendahan hati dan mengakui akan ketidakmampuan kita di bidang lain dan meminta bantuan dari orang lain untuk memberikan nasihat. Dan oleh karena itu saya melihat Wyzerr bisa berkembang dengan baik.
Oh, I'll add something to that also, is to what I think what I learned over time and just from talking to other entrepreneur friends is hire slow. So don't feel the need just because you have the money or you think you need it, unless you absolutely have a job that, a role that requires you to hire. Don't feel the need to hire a bunch of people right away. Like if you can keep your team small, it's probably best to keep your team small for as long as you can, because once you hire over 9 people, it's just the politics and all of that becomes harder to manage after plus you, so 10. After 10 people, I think research has shown that's when kind of the dynamics of the office changes.
Oke, jadi saya belajar juga dari banyak pengusaha-pengusaha yang telah berhasil. Mereka selalu mengatakan bahwa rekrut secara lambat atau hire slow. Jadi jangan kita merasa harus merekrut orang hanya karena kita memiliki uang untuk merekrut orang di dalam usaha kita. Usahakan pertama itu untuk betul-betul membuat kelompok itu kecil sampai kita betul-betul kuat, baru kita berpikir untuk menambah orang. Karena dari hasil research dinyatakan bahwa kalau sudah lebih dari 9 orang di dalam suatu kantor, itu biasanya terjadi politik di dalam kantor itu. Oke, masih mute Bu Linda.
Ya, semoga menjawab ya Ibu Mei ya.
Ya, sip.
Terima kasih.
Baik, saya lihat belum ada yang raise hand lagi. Di sini ada yang bertanya.
Martina Nere itu ada raise hand.
Oh ya, sebentar ya. Martina Nere. Oke, Bung Martin, saya unmute ya.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bung Iwan. Thank you, Usia Linda, and a special thanks to Natasia. I think we probably were in touch before in the past, I remember. But I want to say a big congratulations to you. It's a really great story. And this is something that actually everyone should listen, I believe. Well, in my experience as a lecturer, I always talk about the theory, but you actually doing the theory in the real life. And I admire you highly. And I just hope that we will continue to get in touch, because this is something very inspiring that I can share with my student even in Australia. I don't have many Indonesian students, but I think this is a great thing, and I think everyone in Indonesia should be very grateful. Thank you, Bung Iwan and Linda, for sharing this opportunity, because this is a very rare opportunity to hear fresh story, inspiring story from someone like you, Natasia. Just one thing I want to maybe share with you, and maybe you can share back with everybody here. You know, when we do something, we know that many businesses that succeed, they come from failure. So many startup out there fail and they don't expose. Yeah, not many people know. And you come up with a very wonderful story. I'm just wondering whether you have something that you can think of. How would you do? You have something as you've been doing this business that you would do differently if you look back? Oh, I should have done this. I should have done that. Maybe something that you would have done differently, and you can share with us. And one last thing is, what do you plan to do in the next say 5 years with your business?
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity, Linda, and thanks, Bung Iwan. Yeah.
Sama-sama,
Okay,
Bung
maybe
Martin.
I can translate that the question from Bung Deki first, Bung Martin first, so everyone understand about what is the question. So apa yang Bung Deki sampaikan adalah bagaimana dia bersyukur sekali mendengarkan cerita dari Natasia, bahwa Bung Deki sendiri adalah seorang staf pengajar di La Trobe University di Australia, di Melbourne. Dan biasanya beliau hanya mengajar teorinya. Ini pertama kali langsung mendengar bagaimana seseorang yang telah melakukan, mengimplementasikan, dan berhasil. Ada beberapa pertanyaan yang Bung Deki sampaikan di sini. Adalah pertama, banyak sekali startup company yang mulai dan gagal. Nah, sekarang kalau pertanyaan itu kepada Natasia, kalau Natasia menengok ke belakang, apa sih yang Natasia bisa atau merasa bahwa itu harus dirubah untuk diperbaiki di dalam jalankan usaha? Lalu yang pertanyaan yang kedua adalah, apa yang Natasia lihat 5 tahun ke depan, apa yang akan terjadi atau apa yang akan dilakukan oleh Natasia? Thank you, Natasia.
Thank you, Martin, for the compliment. I really appreciate it. So what I would do differently is definitely hire slow. In looking back, I didn't need the 17 people when I hired them. I think, when you have to think as a small business, every dollar counts. I mean, if you think about the fact that I moved to Cincinnati with $9 and I was able to survive with the $9 to $29 to $2, but I was able to survive with very little. And so in a business, every single dollar counts. If you don't need to hire, you shouldn't. And so I would definitely not hire as many people. I also think in the beginning, entrepreneurs need to figure out as much of their business on their own before they start hiring other people. So one of the things that in my business was the sales process. So eventually I figured out how to sell Wyzerr very well. And had I waited and figured that out on my own and then hired, it would, Wyzerr would be a completely different, it would probably be a Google right now, but I didn't. And I hired a bunch of people that I thought would help me figure it out. But at the end of the day, Wyzerr was my company. And so it was my idea, and no one's going to do your job better than you when you invented the idea. So I would definitely have not hired and saved that money, all of the money that I spent, because I think I look back and I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on people that didn't really add a ton of value to the company.
Oke, jadi apa yang saya belajar dan saya melihat ke belakang, bahwa saya tidak akan merekrut 17 orang yang pertama saya lakukan waktu saya memiliki investasi $2 juta itu. Karena dari 17 orang yang saya rekrut itu, mereka banyak yang tidak juga memberikan nilai tambah di dalam usaha yang saya lakukan. Jadi sebagai seorang pengusaha, saya memberikan nasihat, sebaiknya rekrut secara lambat. Pastikan bahwa kita lebih dahulu sebagai pengusaha itu sendiri menguasai dulu betul-betul usaha kita sebelum kita mulai mengambil orang lain masuk dalam perusahaan kita. Karena ratusan ribu dolar saya spend untuk sesuatu yang sebenarnya saya tidak perlu untuk seperti rekrut orang-orang yang masuk ke dalam 17 orang pertama. Dan ini di dalam menjalankan usaha harus memiliki prinsip bahwa setiap dolar atau setiap rupiah yang kita luangkan itu memiliki arti yang besar. Jadi jangan cepat langsung untuk meluangkan atau spend uang yang kita miliki.
And I want to add to that is that, you know, the statistic 99% of all startups fail, and the number one reason that startups fail is usually because they run out of money. So, you know, there's like a rule for a lot of startup founders like me that have failed and then was able to start. It's just conserve your cash, like protect your cash any way possible.
Oke, jadi 99% usaha yang baru mulai atau dalam suatu usaha itu kegagalannya karena masalah keuangan. Jadi saya selalu anjurkan bahwa pastikan kita kuasai akan cash flow kita. Karena I always learn that cash flow is king. Dalam menjalankan usaha, jadi pastikan keuangan kita itu beres.
And as far as for the next 5 years, so I now work for Popcom, and Popcom is doing something very cool in like the retail space, and I really believe in their vision. So I'll probably be here for a couple of years, and they also have a goal of exiting and hopefully being acquired. So maybe I'll be part of another acquisition, but for now, I think eventually I'll probably start another company at some point.
Oke, untuk sementara sekarang usaha saya telah diakuisisi oleh Popcorn, dan Popcorn ini suatu perusahaan yang sangat cool, dan saya merasa untuk beberapa tahun ke depan saya akan bersama-sama dengan mereka, sampai mungkin suatu hari mereka nanti akan diakuisisi oleh perusahaan lainnya, dan mungkin saya juga akan berpikir untuk memulai usaha baru lainnya.
Oke, terjawab ya Bung Martin ya. Oh sorry, maaf.
Oke.
Thank you so much, Natasia, and thank you, Bung Iwan and Julinda. So that's really great to hear once again. You are one of very few that succeed, and so pleased that I've got the opportunity, and of course everyone here on YouTube and on this Zoom, very happy to hear this great story, and I hope to get in touch with you. I think I sent a chat. Just send an email. I want to invite you live also in my class one day. Thank you so much. Yeah. You never know. You may end up setting up another one in Australia.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Baik.
Okay, Linda, there is a good question from Ezra Noya. Maybe I can read it to Natasia. It says that, can you give us a tips or advice for teenagers who want to study computer science?
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. So number one, and I know that internet, I've been having a lot of discussions about the internet in Indonesia, but number one, there is a lot of free classes online that, you know, computer science classes online. So Google, for example, gives scholarships, and I'll send that link out too, but you could be anywhere in the world and you can apply for a scholarship to take computer classes, and Google actually pays for that. There's like Udemy, there's just a lot of, like, I would say start with the online courses, and then if you have the opportunity to take classes at like a college, like a community college or anything like that, definitely go there. But I would definitely take advantage of like the online courses, and they start off very simple and they can get as complex as you need it to be.
Oke, jadi banyak sekali tawaran-tawaran secara online untuk pelatihan menjadi computer scientist. Dan salah satunya adalah Google. Nanti mungkin akan di-share oleh Natasia link dari bagaimana bisa mendapatkan pelatihan secara gratis online untuk computer science dari Google. Jadi terus lakukan banyak penelitian untuk mencari pelatihan-pelatihan online mengenai computer science, atau mungkin nantinya bisa berlanjutkan di college atau di universitas untuk melakukan computer science.
Oke, baik. Ini saya ada private questions.
Private.
Please, Bung, Jeff, actually. So, Natasia, when the first time you moved you got nothing to lose when you moved to Cincinnati. But when you were about 25, you decided to move to Arkansas, and you have a career, UC Berkeley graduated. What makes you decide that, and what does your family thinks about it, your decisions?
So my family did not like the idea. I think only my brother, who's been my oldest brother, who's been very supportive, and my oldest sister, who was very supportive throughout this whole journey. I think besides them, I don't think the rest of my family, I know my friends, they all thought I was crazy for moving there, because I was already in law school. And so everyone was kind of like, why would you give up a good career to be a lawyer for something that you don't even know if it's going to work out. So I think that, again, at the time with Suligan, I just really believed in the idea, and I knew that I needed some money to, since I was going to quit my job to make this idea work, and I needed to be focused. Like, I was working all the time, so I was in school, like there was no way that I would have free time. And so I moved to Arkansas because it would really give me the free time to work on Suligan, and then also give me some investment capital to to cover my living expenses and then get the company going.
Jadi waktu saya berpikir untuk memulai usaha saya sendiri, memang dari keluarga kebanyakan tidak mendukung atas ide itu. Mungkin salah satunya yang mendukung adalah kakak saya yang paling tua. Dia yang mendukung terus ide saya dari awal hingga saat ini. Karena banyak kawan-kawan saya juga mengatakan itu suatu ide yang gila, kamu mulai sesuatu yang belum tentu atau belum pasti akan berhasil, lalu kamu meninggalkan suatu pendidikan untuk kamu suatu hari bisa menjadi lawyer. Nah, cuma saya tetap fokus atas apa yang saya inginkan. Saya berpindah ke Arkansas, dan disitulah dimana saya mulai mendapatkan klien yang pertama, yang Wyzerr. Dan itu semua karena saya tetap fokus dengan apa yang saya percaya saya bisa jalankan.
Ya, oke, Bung Iwan, ini sebelum saya pindah ke ada Bung Elia yang juga raise hand, Bapak Ibu sekalian jangan lupa nanti kita ada quiz, jadi diingat-ingat apa tadi diskusinya. This is interesting, Natasia, when we have the dry run, you mentioned that you have low cost for marketing, right? So there's a question: how do you promote your product or services? From Jenny Sahitapi, yeah.
Yeah, so initially, we never spent any money on actual marketing ads. Like, a lot of startups will pay for Google ads and Facebook ads, and we never really spent any money on that. In the beginning, we really didn't have the money, but what we found was, just writing about Wyzerr. So we would write blogs. We found out that there was a lot of the types of people, once we started getting the customers, the types of people that was constantly buying or interested in Wyzerr was the market researchers. And so we just started writing blogs or tweeting on our social media, posting things that was geared towards the market researchers, and they would share it with their friends who are also market researchers. And so it just kind of funneled and made the company grow organically. I think I shared on our dry run that one day I was at a meeting and I saw a phone number come in. It was from Germany, and I was like, who do I know in Germany? And it was the CIO of Volkswagen calling me on my cell phone. I'm like, I don't even know how he got my cell phone number. But it was just, again, it was because someone shared one of our blogs with him, and a blog is free to write.
Oke, jadi apa yang saya lakukan, dan seperti saya katakan, kita tidak meluangkan banyak biaya untuk melakukan marketing, tapi kita menulis banyak sekali blog-blog, dan blog-blog ditulis itu di perusahaan-perusahaan yang kita perhatikan mereka membutuhkan atau membeli market research. Nah, waktu kita share di blog itu, mereka share lagi blog kita kepada yang lain. Dan kita juga lakukan banyak sekali tweeting di sosial media juga. Nah, itu sehingga tersebar banyak mengenai perusahaan kita Wyzerr. Bahkan pernah saya ceritakan di dalam waktu kita lakukan dry run bahwa saya pernah mendapat telepon dari nomor dari Jerman. Saya pikir siapa yang telepon saya dari Jerman? Ternyata itu adalah direktur dari perusahaan Volkswagen, VW, yang akhirnya mereka membeli aplikasi saya atau sistem kita dari Wyzerr.
Oke. Saya coba ke Bung Elia Wamese ya. Silakan di-unmute, Bung.
Ya. Thank you, Bu Linda.
Sama-sama.
Thank you, Natasia. Your story is very inspiring. And yeah, I'm interested in your process of creating the app. How did you start? Did you design the apps yourself? And I'm interested in how to create or start apps that potentially working and demanded. And maybe you can share on your brainstorming process to finding these ideas and actually put them into reality, something that actually works. Yeah, that's for me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Iwan, did you want to translate his question?
Yeah, I think so. Ya, saya ingin tahu bagaimana proses dari pembuatan app ini, dari mungkin proses dari brainstorming sampai aplikasi ini menjadi suatu aplikasi yang bekerja dan dibutuhkan. Nah, yang saya ingin tahu adalah apakah Natasia mendesain ini sendiri atau bagaimana sampai aplikasi ini prosesnya itu bisa berjalan begitu baik.
Yeah, so I was fortunate that when I went to Arkansas, while I was walking around University of Arkansas, I met this guy named Stedman, and he became an intern for Suligan. And then when Suligan failed, I actually asked him if he wanted to start Wyzerr with me. And so he ended up becoming my co-founder. And Stedman is a designer. He was teaching himself how to design. And so I was fortunate that he ended up helping me design. So the first step was, I think the initial problem was that I wanted to solve was that surveys are really bad. And so, I just asked myself, well, if surveys are really bad, how do you make it better? And kind of just did some research, read a lot of articles on how you can make make things that people actually want to use on their cell phones. And so that's how I decided that I wanted to make Wyzerr gamified. But in terms of how do you create it, so the first step is you want to do a mock-up. Mock-up is basically just a design of what you think it will look like with all the steps. And I did a mock-up by looking at other apps and how other apps looked like. So other survey companies, what they looked like, and what I didn't like about those things, what I did like, and then just looking at different games. There's a website called patterns.com, and I'll send this to Ibu Linda afterwards, kind of all like the Google things. I'll send all the resources, but there's a website called patterns.com that has every single mobile app like categorized by different features that I was always looking at to get inspiration on how to design my app.
Oke, jadi waktu saya berjalan-jalan di University of Arkansas, dan di mana saya bertemu dengan yang dulu juga pernah menjadi intern di Suligan, usaha saya yang pertama. Lalu saya mengajak dia untuk ikut di dalam usaha Wyzerr ini. Pada akhirnya dia menjadi co-founder dari Wyzerr ini. Dialah yang memulai dengan ide-ide desain daripada aplikasi tersebut. Lalu saya melihat bagaimana survei yang sementara ini ada di pasar, yang kelihatannya kurang begitu bagus, bahkan jelek sekali. Lalu saya berpikir bagaimana untuk membuatnya lebih baik, membuatnya supaya orang itu lebih suka untuk memakai aplikasi untuk melakukan survei itu. Lalu saya mulai membuat mock-up-nya, memulai contohnya aplikasinya tuh bentuknya seperti apa atau akan terlihat seperti apa. Nah, saya bisa berikan nanti link yang mana ada patterns.com itu, link di mana kita bisa melihat banyak sekali aplikasi-aplikasi di mobile yang menjadi contoh untuk kita memiliki ide untuk mendesain aplikasi itu sendiri.
Thank you, Elia.
Linda, let me ask Natasia now. Natasia, I just want to ask you, what stage of your product development did you start selling to customers?
The first day before we had the name for our company. So I think I mentioned the restaurant owner. So I just told him the idea to see if he thought it was a good idea. And then he said, how much? And I said, $1,000. And he said, okay. So and at that time, we didn't even have a name for the company. Obviously we didn't have the software built yet, but you kind of always want to be selling just so that, because what you don't want to, especially in tech, you don't want to build something and then not have any customers. And that's where a lot of startups go wrong, is that they just start building a company or they start building a mobile app and then realize that nobody wants any of these things that you're building. And so you kind of want to constantly be selling. You can always say, hey, you know, it's not going to be ready for 6 months, but are you willing to give me a $1 deposit? And if they're willing to give you $1, they're probably willing to give you 10. If they're willing to give you 10, they're probably willing to give you 100. And so just getting that commitment, because if they're not going to pay you for it, then it's maybe not an idea worth working on. And so, or at least refine that idea.
Very good, thank you. Well, jadi pertanyaannya adalah, di tahap apa Natasia mulai menjual produknya Wyzerr ini? Jawabannya adalah dia menjual produk Wyzerr ini sebenarnya sebelum nama Wyzerr itu ditemukan. Yaitu waktu dia berbicara dengan pemilik restoran, lalu pemilik restoran itu bertanya berapa harganya, yaitu $1.000. Nah, banyak sekali orang yang menjalankan startup company, mereka membuat dengan cepat perusahaan-perusahaan atau aplikasi yang mereka sendiri tidak memiliki adanya customer. Advice dari Natasia adalah lebih baik mengetahui adanya customer di sana, di luar sana yang membutuhkan akan aplikasi itu. Nah, kalau kita bisa berbicara kepada seorang pelanggan mengenai apa ide dari aplikasi yang akan kita buat, kita bilang dalam beberapa bulan nanti aplikasi ini akan selesai, dan kita tanya apakah kamu mau berinvestasi, kasih saya $1 deposit. Kalau dia bisa kasih $1 deposit, dia bisa kasih $10 deposit. Kalau dia bisa kasih $10, dia bisa kasih lebih. Jadi di sini terlihat adanya ide yang dijual terlebih dahulu sebelum membentuk aplikasi itu. And Natasia, if I could ask something that to sell an idea, even the company hasn't been registered or hasn't been formed, you must have the strong conviction and belief, because I always believe selling is a transfer of feeling. Yeah, so before you open your mouth, because you saw so much conviction inside you, then that's already felt by the person that asked you the question, what are you doing and how much will it cost? You know, and that's awesome. Like throughout this interview, throughout this webinar, it shows that how much conviction, how much belief that you have in what you're doing. Let alone the product, but in what you're doing. Jadi bisa saya tambahkan di sini bahwa selling itu adalah perpindahan atau transfer daripada suatu perasaan, dan apa yang ditunjukkan oleh Natasia di sini bahwa waktu dia berbicara atau sebelum dia berbicara kepada si pemilik restoran yang menanyakan sedang apa dia dan dia akhirnya menjual sebesar $1.000, conviction, keyakinan yang dia miliki itu sudah tersampai kepada si pelanggan, sehingga transfer of feeling dari kepercayaan Natasia dari seluruh acara webinar ini bisa kita rasakan bagaimana dia begitu percaya dengan apa yang dia lakukan dan juga terhadap produk yang dia ciptakan. Thank you.
Yeah. This is very good questions from Rian Andito, because a lot of young people now starting their startup business, right? He would like to ask an advice from the young people who graduated and want to build their small company, don't have much experience. What is the first step and how to execute the idea or hiring the team?
Yes, so it's almost a given that, like, in the beginning you're not going to make any money. So first of all, don't expect to make any money when you're starting a company. But also, I think it's very helpful to find a co-founder for a startup. So someone that's, what we did, well, I was lucky that I had an intern, but what initially with Suligan, I just kept telling my friends, I would tell other people, I would be in chat groups, I would go to events and just talk to people about my idea. Usually you'll be able to find maybe another college student, another recent graduate that is equally excited about wanting to be part of a startup or start a startup, but they don't have an idea yet. And so finding a co-founder is really important because it helps you with accountability. And so, having a co-founder will make sure, even when you don't want to work, they'll make sure that you're working. They'll, when things are hard, when you get the 99 no's from an investor, that co-founder is right there. And that's what Stedman was for me. It was just, he was constantly with me throughout all of the struggles. He was always there, and helps you make better decisions also. So I would definitely say find a co-founder in the very beginning.
Oke, jadi langkah pertama menurut Natasia untuk bagaimana bisa memulai suatu startup yang akan berhasil nantinya adalah harus mengerti lebih dahulu bahwa pada awalnya perusahaan itu tidak akan membuat uang, tidak akan membuat penghasilan, dan sangat-sangat dibutuhkan untuk memiliki seorang co-founder atau partner kerja. Karena dengan memiliki co-founder ini, itu mendisiplinkan kita, memastikan kita bertanggung jawab terhadap apa yang kita lakukan. Nah, bagaimana kita mendapatkan co-founder? Kita berbicara kepada banyak orang, kita mungkin datang hadir di setiap pertemuan-pertemuan. Mungkin saja kita di teman-teman mahasiswa juga kita bisa temukan orang yang memiliki semangat juga ingin melakukan hal yang sama, tapi dia belum memiliki ide, sehingga dia juga bisa diajak untuk bekerja sama sebagai co-founder. Nah, co-founder inilah yang sampai sekarang saya sangat bersyukur dengan co-founder saya, karena dia yang selalu memastikan bahwa saya harus bekerja dan memiliki accountability untuk menjalankan usaha ini sehingga sukses.
Okay, this is Bung Iwan. I have a very interesting question from Pak Stephen, but first I would like to. There's Elviana Watopa here. She is the co-founder of Indo East Network, young Malukan doing something in Malukan. Please, Usi Elvi.
Oh yeah, thank you very much, Usi, Linda, and Bung Iwan. Natasia is really inspired this morning. We can hear your successful story, and I mean, not a lot young people will take a big risk just like you. So my question is, how you convince your first large big company to deal with your company? I mean, in the very start beginning is really struggling with limited resources and all the things, but if you take the opportunity with a large company, also you have a big risks to deal with them, but at the end also you get a high pay from them, right? So I just want to know that how you convince them at the very beginning you start your company with a large company.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And thank you for joining. So it's so good to see another co-founder in Maluku. So with Walmart, the story with Walmart, actually, we told them no 3 times, but 2 times before we told them yes. So the first few times that Walmart came to us with the project, we realized that if we do this project, we weren't going to be successful. And if we're not successful, then they're probably never going to use Wyzerr, and they'll probably tell other people not to use Wyzerr. So even though they offered us a lot of money the first 2 times, we told them no each time. So, and then the 3rd time they finally came back and said, well, we really want to use Wyzerr. How would you guys recommend that we use Wyzerr? And so, I gave them a recommendation and they were like, okay, let's try this. And it ended up being very successful. But so I would say that startup founders, and I hear this a lot, especially when you are approached by a big company, a lot of startups, they will like bend over backwards and they'll do whatever it can to close that big deal. But, it's very short-sighted, because unless you know for certain that big deal is going to be successful for you, you shouldn't take the deal, because if it doesn't go well, especially when you're like dealing with your first few customers, if it doesn't go well, they are going to tell everyone, and you're never going to be able to get more customers, or you're going to spend all of your money. Like Walmart is known to put startups out of business, unfortunately. Like I know so many people that have tried to work with Walmart and they have went out of business because Walmart makes them, like, requires them to do so much. And so I would say, like, for your first few customers, no matter how big the customer is, be prepared to say no. If you know it's not going to work out for you, if you don't have the money to do it, you don't have the resources to do it, just tell them no, because if they really want to work with you, they will come back and say, okay, like, I'm willing to work with you. How can we do this? But don't set yourself up for failure.
Oke, jadi pertanyaan dari Eviliana ini adalah bagaimana bisa memiliki hubungan kerja dengan perusahaan besar. Karena hubungan kerja atau partnering dengan perusahaan besar itu memiliki juga resiko yang besar. Jawaban dari Natasia adalah Di waktu Walmart, perusahaan yang memiliki 7.600 triliun rupiah omset itu mendatangi Natasia untuk mengajak bekerja sama, 2 kali pertama yang mereka berikan jawaban tidak kepada Walmart, baru yang ketiga kali mereka menerima tawaran dari Walmart. Alasannya adalah karena perusahaan besar seperti Walmart, kalau kita langsung menerima dan kita tahu bahwa kita tidak bisa memberikan apa yang mereka inginkan, hasilnya nanti akan menghancurkan usaha kita karena dia akan bercerita ke seluruh dunia untuk tidak lagi memakai jasa daripada Wyzerr. Nah, ini nasihat bagi para mereka yang akan melakukan startup company, jangan terlalu gegabah atau terlalu semangat di waktu perusahaan besar mendatangi kita menawarkan dengan tawaran uang yang besar, lalu kita bend backward, lalu kita lakukan apa saja untuk bisa dapatkan deal itu. Yang pertama kita harus pikirkan adalah apakah kita bisa memastikan bahwa aplikasi atau usaha kita ini nantinya memberikan apa yang mereka inginkan. Karena kalau sampai tidak, maka itu akan membawa kehancuran pada usaha kita. Dan Walmart contohnya ini merupakan salah satu perusahaan yang bukan membunuh secara kasarnya, tapi banyak perusahaan startup yang gagal karena bekerja sama dengan Walmart, karena dia meminta banyak sekali hal-hal yang si perusahaan startup ini tidak bisa memenuhi. Nah, jadi sekali lagi, pikirkan lebih dahulu, jangan terlalu cepat membuat keputusan mengambil deal dari perusahaan-perusahaan besar, pastikan bahwa apa yang nanti diambil itu bisa kita delivery.
Oke, Usi Elvi ya.
Oh yeah, thank you very much, Natasia. It's great to hear that.
Thank you.
Oke, sebelum saya ke Bung Stephen Tahito, ini mungkin sudah di-mention juga sebelumnya oleh Natasia. Ketika memulai bisnis, you start with a business plan. Did you do it on your own or you hire a consultant? And then for the investment, are you using credit from the bank or who is the investor?
Yep. So our business, so in startups, there is something called the lean canvas. It's basically a 1-page, it's like what most startups out here, at least in Silicon Valley, they use. So I will also send that to Iwan and Ibu Linda after this. But so the lean canvas is just 1 page, and it helps you highlight all of the main parts of a business that you need just to get started. And I did that by myself. I didn't use a consultant, and I think it's very important for entrepreneurs to do it on your own, because a lot of startups will hire consultants to help them, but it's like, again, you have to, as a startup founder, you have to do the work of thinking through every part of your business on your own before you bring in experts or pay for it, because only you can really understand how your business is supposed to grow. So I did that on my own. And then I think, what was the second question, Linda?
So who is the investor?
Yeah.
Oh yes. Okay. So no, I did not get any money from the bank, because also for startups, it's a huge risk. Most banks don't want to lend to startups until they're further along, because you just don't know if the company is going to make it. But so I receive investments from a lot of successful business owners, and actually Wyzerr, one of our biggest investors, is the CFO of Kroger. So Kroger is like Walmart's competitor in the United States. They own a lot of grocery stores, so they're equally up there with Walmart. So the CFO and the CIO of Kroger invested in our company.
Oke, jadi menjawab yang tadi bahwa apakah Natasia melakukan bisnis plan itu sendiri, jawabannya ya, dia melakukan bisnis plan itu sendiri. Alasannya adalah dia selalu katakan bahwa kita harus mengerti betul usaha yang kita jalankan, karena kita lah yang menjiwai akan usaha itu, kita yang lebih tahu apa yang kita inginkan. Lalu setelah itu mungkin kita bisa memakai konsultan, tapi dia bilang ada suatu link, yaitu link canvas yang nanti akan di-share ke semuanya juga yang hadir di dalam webinar ini. Di situ menunjukkan poin-poin apa yang dibutuhkan di dalam melakukan planning di dalam usaha itu. Dan juga pertanyaan apakah menggunakan uang dari bank? Tidak, karena tidak banyak bank yang mau memberikan pinjaman kepada sebuah perusahaan startup yang baru karena risikonya terlalu besar karena terlalu banyak startup company yang gagal. Dan kebetulan di CFO dari Kruger itu salah satu perusahaan yang menjadi kompetitor saingan dari Walmart. Itu mereka berinvestasi di dalam usahanya dari Natasia juga, dan ini banyak sekali membantu dalam usaha ini.
Baik, semoga menjawab ya Bung Stephen Tahito. Bukan dari Bung Theophilus. Sekarang dari Bung Stephen Tahito. Apakah Natasia ada rencana untuk terlibat dalam program-program pemberdayaan generasi muda Maluku, Bung Iwan?
Natasia, do you understand that question?
Is it to be involved in different organizations in Maluku?
Yeah, to sort of a capital building of the Maluku generation.
Yeah, I would love to. My aunt actually has a organization called Berkat Ambon that right now is it's a nonprofit that supports like orphanages in Ambon. So maybe and because she already has like that connection to Ambon, maybe I'll talk to her to see if we can, maybe I'll start like a capital fund to invest in Malukan entrepreneurs, because I would love to do that.
Oke, jadi tante saya udah memulai suatu organisasi bukan untuk profit, untuk non-profit organization di Ambon, namanya Berkat Ambon. Nanti Natasia akan berbicara sama tantenya untuk apa yang dia bisa bantu berinvestasi di Berkat Ambon itu. Other question, maybe Natasia, following up the question from Piche Tahito about. All right, let me put it in English because I got English jump into Indonesian. All right, we have so many Malukans generation, right? That maybe right now craving or wanted to get help to have a successful startup company. Is there a way or is there a chance for you to run a workshop in the future for all the Maluku generation that want to build their own company or as well as a startup company? Because I think it's going to be awesome to have a lot of Malukans. I mean, I'm talking just for the Malukans because I'm a Malukan, so it applies to everyone else, obviously. But in this case, for the Malukans to get stimulated and get guidance as well as get the vision from somebody like you that have been successful in startup company. So they don't have to pay the price as much as you did before.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, just from the questions today, it seems like, and I think, I mean, there's a need out here, so I'm sure there's a need in Maluku, but maybe I'll do a workshop. I'll coordinate with you to do a workshop on how to get started, like with the mock-ups and wireframes. I think, you know, in connection to Elia's question, and then I'll also do a session on the business plan, like how I worked on the lean startup canvas, and work through like a business plan workshop. So yeah, I will definitely would love to do that.
That's awesome, Natasia. Appreciate that. And we will set a time when it's the best for you, and then me and Om Jeff and Linda, everyone, we can organize a workshop, because I think it's important not just to live a webinar that is awesome without any follow-up. I'm pretty sure I'm talking on behalf of all the young generation in Maluku, like Elia, Elviliana, and all others that I haven't seen in the screen, but they're all excited. They all want to do something. They all want to move forward, and to have a mentor, to have someone like you that already proven successful in your field, that will help so much. Right, so we'll talk, definitely we'll talk. Jeff, you write a note, Jeff?
Yes.
I hasn't gone to sleep yet. It's 2:00, or what time is it in London?
Okay.
3:30. Okay, sorry, off the track.
Oh, no, don't worry, Bung Iwan. I think this is very interesting. A lot of good questions. I think we're going to ask another 2 questions. One, Pak Samuel Samson will ask directly, but here's from Bung Andi Manuputi. Bung Andi, maybe I'll give to Bung Samuel first. You can unmute yourself now, Bung. Silakan, Bung.
Yes, thank you, Bu Linda. So, Bung Iwan, and of course for Natasia for this opportunity. We are a bit lucky today. We are already in Saturday, and Natasia still, I think, in Friday. I would love to a bit continue the conversation from Bung Iwan. Sorry for the other participants this morning that still talking related to the Ambon, the Maluku. So, of course, Natasia, I would love to congratulate you. We are so proud of you. Everybody here, we are so proud of whatever you already achieved so far. I'd love to have a silly question for you.
Okay.
How big the share of the Ambonese blood in your Wyzerr?
Oh, I mean, I would say it's 100% because it's creative. You know, Ambonese people are known to be creative. They're known to be passionate. They're known to be, you know, they know how to have fun. So, you know, Wyzerr was built to have fun, and I mean, it was built out of passion. So I would definitely say like 100%. But I'm 100% Ambonese too, if that's the other question, part of the question.
It's a diplomat question. Yeah, the way you ask the question is very diplomatic, and I know there will be another question following. Come on.
So it means that I can predict that you have a good sound system in your office, right?
Oh yeah, yes, but I'm actually at home right now, so yes.
Yes, think about to have the Yopilatul, some songs from Yopilatul to be put in your office. I think it's make your team more energized and more energy to support your idea.
Okay, thank you.
So, because you know, as you say that mostly all of your response is something very fundamental for us in Ambon, or for the Ambonese, or for the Malukan. You know, in Ambon we have a saying something like "Oh sudah, too hard, cukup sudah." Mostly all about we are not ready to step forward more longer. The surroundings providing for us a lovely place in Ambon. We have all in Ambon, in Maluku. So sometimes it reduces our spirit to make it more and more, right? So how you would love to advise for us? Because I'd love to say that to be success, you can follow from some question before. I'm so amazed, and then I'm so thankful that some of my brothers and sisters in Ambon, they can ask something very precious question for you. It means that we have a capacity inside. The problem of the us is only something like a black cover us, which is cannot make us have the kick off capacity.
Yes, yeah. So definitely. So I would say that, you know, even if you seem to be, you know, very content and happy with all the things you're going, I'm sure there's a lot of other people that don't have the same. And so I think you know, with entrepreneurship, you can help other people and other groups get more resources, get better. Like even before this talk, like kind of during our dry run, we talked a lot about the resources for startup entrepreneurs in Ambon and how there's very little, even in Indonesia, actually, because I was at the consulate a couple of weeks ago, and they mentioned that they didn't really have resources in general in Indonesia for entrepreneurs. And so I think people like Elia, because your name keeps popping up here. So, but there's an Elviliana, that there are entrepreneurs in Maluku that can start organizations or have meetups so that other people can meet each other. So I think there's always opportunities to bring people together, because once you have a group, and I think that is really what helped me. When I moved to Cincinnati, I was constantly around other entrepreneurs, some entrepreneurs that were much further along than me. And by seeing what they were doing, it motivated and inspired me to keep going. And eventually Wyzerr became bigger than all of those entrepreneurs. And we accomplished more than all those entrepreneurs. But I think it started with me being around them first. So I think there's always, even if you're very happy and content with all that you have, I think there's always opportunities to help the people, the saudara-saudara around you, improve their lives.
Oke, jadi pertanyaan dari Bung Samuel Samson mengatakan bahwa banyak sekali kita di Maluku yang merasa sudah begitu nyaman, sehingga istilah-istilah yang dikeluarkan di Maluku itu menunjukkan bahwa bagaimana kita di Maluku memiliki hampir semua yang dibutuhkan. Jadi layback atau rasa kenyamanan itu yang membuat banyak yang tidak mau mengambil langkah untuk berani maju ke depan. Apa yang disampaikan oleh Natasia bahwa mungkin kita memiliki apa yang semua kita rasa sudah cukup, tapi dengan menjadi seorang entrepreneur atau seorang pengusaha gitu, itu nanti pada akhirnya kita akan membantu lebih banyak orang yang juga yang belum merasakan cukup dalam kehidupannya. Dan bagaimana kita bisa untuk menjadi seorang entrepreneur atau pengusaha itu kita bertemu dengan para pengusaha-pengusaha lainnya. Pastinya ada organisasi di Maluku yang mempertemukan semua pengusaha-pengusaha untuk saling bertukar pikiran. Dan dengan cara itu kita akan memiliki semangat untuk membangun usaha kita. Dan memang banyak kendala yang dihadapi untuk melakukan suatu usaha baru di Indonesia, karena saya baru saja berkunjung ke konsulat Indonesia di San Francisco, dan merupakan salah satu kendala terbesar dalam menjadi seorang entrepreneur itu cukup menantang sekali. Di Indonesia fasilitas-fasilitas yang disediakan itu sangat terbatas.
Okay, Bung Iwan and Natasia, I think we have one last questions before we go to the next agenda. It's from Bapak Andi Manuhutu. I would like to unmute you now, Bung.
Yeah, what's funny was my last name was called Manuputi.
Belum lama nih jadi orang Ambon ya, Bung.
Bung Jackie would be offended. Yeah, hi, Natasia. I have a very, very, very basic question. When you told us that you were sharing your ideas, either Suligan or Wyzerr, to your friends or amongst people that you met, aren't you afraid at that time that someone would steal your idea? How do you prevent that?
In the beginning, I did. So when I was like my first few, kind of months as an entrepreneur, I was very scared to talk to people. Actually, my best friend and like the co-founder and we actually met in the parking lot in our car because we were so afraid that someone would hear us talking about the idea for Suligan. But in the end, what I realized over time is that a lot of people have great ideas. Like most of the companies around here, like other people have had the idea, but it's really like your gumption and your passion that sets an entrepreneur from someone that just has an idea. So, I actually decided to go and build my idea, but I'm sure other people have thought about, we should make surveys fun. And so I think it ultimately what I realized is that some people just have ideas all day. Like there are people that have great ideas all day, but it's really like taking the time and taking the action and doing that leap of faith, quitting my job, like moving to Arkansas, like all of those things that actually builds up a company. Like it's not enough to just have an idea. And so after that, like I just told everybody about my idea because I'm like, well, if you work on it, great. Maybe I'll come work for you if my idea doesn't work out, So yeah.
And I think in closure also that someone can steal your idea, but if they don't have the soul of doing it, then it will be a failure. Okay, thanks, Natasia.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bung Andi.
Jadi pertanyaan dari Bung Andi, apakah ada rasa kekhawatiran kalau kita membahas mengenai ide-ide kita kepada orang lain, bahwa orang lain akan mengambil ide itu dan jalankan usaha itu? Jawaban dari Natasia adalah banyak orang yang memiliki ide, tapi tidak banyak orang yang menjalankan secara betul-betul, memberikan semua waktu dan pikirannya, bahkan Natasia meninggalkan pekerjaannya atau juga studinya dia hanya untuk dia berikan semuanya untuk jalankan ide yang dia punya, sehingga itu yang membedakan dia dengan mereka-mereka yang begitu banyak, dan oleh karena itu dia selalu dengan berani menceritakan idenya kepada banyak orang, bahkan dia mengatakan, oke, kalau seandainya ide saya nggak bekerja, ide yang kamu punya itu kamu bekerja, saya bekerja untuk kamu deh. Nah, di sini beda apa yang Natasia lakukan, memiliki rasa secure terhadap apa ide yang dia buat, karena bukan hanya berupa ide saja, tapi dia sendiri jalankan dan eksekusi ide itu menjadi suatu usaha yang berhasil.
Baik, saya rasa kita terima kasih Bung Andi, semoga terjawab ya Bung. Saya rasa kita akan lanjut ke kuis berikutnya, Bung Iwan ya.
Boleh. Terakhir saya tanya,
Yes,
terakhir saya tanya Natasia. Natasia, do you have an exit plan, and what is your exit plan?
Yeah, you know, the goal is always to I guess for entrepreneurs, at least for a lot of entrepreneurs that I talk to, is to start a investment fund of my own and help entrepreneurs in a way that I really could have utilized. So like for me, because I moved around so much, housing was like a big issue for me. So like I was constantly living with like my friends. I was living on like someone's couch while I was starting my company. And so I think, you know, once I start my own investment fund, like one of the things that I'm like going to invest in is probably more real estate, so that startup founders can live in the apartment and for free while they work on their company. Because I think if you don't have to worry about like food and housing, then you can focus on your company much more. And actually, I've been talking to my brother about buying real estate in Ambon. So hopefully that becomes a reality in the next year or two, that I'll actually be able to start it maybe in Ambon.
That's great. You can talk to Jeff. There's a piece of land in Hutumuri. I think he's thinking of selling that.
Oh,
Just okay. From the company point of view, Natasia, what will be the company exit plan?
Oh, for Wyzerr, for Popcom?
Yeah, for Wyzerr. Oh,
yes.
Sorry. Well, now it's not Wyzerr anymore, isn't it? It's or maybe Wyzerr.
Yeah. So with Wyzerr, I mean, even though Wyzerr is under Popcom, I still run it as if it's like its own, you know, standalone company. And so I think the goal is to be acquired by a bigger company. Popcom is bigger than Wyzerr, but you know, maybe by like a Walmart or a Kroger in the long run. So we're continuing to work with like the same customers, and hopefully then the deal becomes, rather than a couple million, like, because I received a couple millions in my deal, maybe it's a couple billions in that deal. So the goal is to always grow more.
Okay. Jadi pertanyaannya adalah bahwa setiap pengusaha itu selalu harus memiliki exit plan. Jadi pertanyaan saya ke Natasia, apa yang menjadi exit plan dari Wyzerr? Nah, Natasia menjawab bahwa sekarang Wyzerr telah diambil alih atau diakuisisi oleh Popcom. Dan itu Popcom lebih besar dari Wyzerr. Nah, mereka tetap menjalankan dan bekerja keras untuk membangun usaha mereka, dan berharap suatu hari mungkin nanti perusahaan yang lebih besar lagi. Kalau kemarin diambil alihnya itu dengan $1,5 juta, mungkin the next-nya adalah $1,5 miliar. Nah, itu yang menjadi rencana dari exit plan-nya, dan untuk keluar dari apa yang mereka telah lakukan.
Bung Iwan, saya sadar ini waktu udah jam 9.49, but we still Saya lihat nih ada Bung Jackie raise hand, ada another questions.
Bung Jackie Manu Putih, tolong Bung Jackie Manu
Oke,
Putih.
saya unmute ya Bung Jackie.
Karena
Silakan
dia
Bung.
mungkin
Ya.
akan berdoa bersama.
Hi, Natasia.
Hi, I'm Jackie.
I'm really
A
proud of
while.
you. After such a long time, and I can see you here.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, I'm really proud of you. And I just want to ask one very quick question. What does faith mean to you in the whole process of your struggle?
Yeah, I would definitely say without faith, I definitely would not be here today because there's a lot of really hard days. And I just, so for me, I learned really early on. My dad actually used to, when I was younger, he used to make us memorize Bible verses. And I never understood why, but he always tied it to like a prize. So, oh, memorize this Bible verse and I'll give you ice cream. Memorize this Bible verse, I'll give you money. And so I memorized everything because I wanted to make money off of it. And I didn't understand until I was older that like Bible verses are really like your weapon against all of the bad thoughts in your head and all of that, like if just reciting Bible verses. So I actually memorized a lot of Bible verses. And then whenever things got hard, I would just like recite them to myself. And so I think faith definitely kept me going because there was so many like really hard days, and just believing that like, everything happens for a reason and God will help deliver me from, whatever problems that I have.
Yeah, you bring all my memory back to. Okay, God bless you.
It's good to see you, Jackie.
I keep praying to you.
Thank you.
Pertanyaan dari Bung Jackie, apa arti iman bagi Natasia? Jawaban dari Natasia adalah bahwa tanpa iman dia tidak akan mungkin berada di mana dia berada sekarang. Jadi waktu dia kecil dia mengingat orang tuanya, ayahnya selalu meminta dia untuk menghafalkan ayat-ayat Alkitab, walaupun waktu itu dengan hadiah kalau dia hafalkan ayat Alkitab itu dia dapat es krim dan lain sebagainya. Dan sekarang waktu dia menganjak dewasa, dia mengerti betul bahwa ayat-ayat Alkitab yang dia hafal itu merupakan suatu kekuatan yang luar biasa di waktu dia menghadapi hal-hal yang sangat sulit di dalam kehidupannya. Atau dia mempunyai pemikiran-pemikiran yang tidak baik, dia gunakan ayat-ayat Alkitab itu. Jadi sekali lagi bahwa iman itu adalah segalanya, dan dia percaya bahwa semua yang terjadi dalam kehidupannya itu terjadi karena ada alasan yang kuat, dan dia imani itu.
Ya. Baik.
Oke. Bu Linda.
Thank you. Ya, kita bisa mulai ke quiz ya, Bung Iwan ya.
Silakan. Dan sekali lagi, Natasia, we like to thank you all. We're very, very proud of you. Like everyone always in this webinar said, every time they want to ask you a question, the first thing that came across their mind is they're very proud of you as the Moluccans, as someone that striving and persevere in what you believe. And you're such a great role model for a lot of young generation Moluccans and all the Moluccans and everyone in this instance for all Indonesian as well. So let's work together to help the Moluccans, to start the workshop, and we will love to see many Natasia Maliholo in the future. That people that will go out there and make the difference and take the risk and be a successful entrepreneur and then tell the world there's their story that's so inspiring. And thanks so much, Natasia. And don't go out yet, because we're taking a picture together. We're gonna sing together as always. The Ambonese, if we're not singing, we're not Ambonese. So we'll sing together at the end. And Bung Jackie will lead us in singing as well as always.
Okay, kita buat
at the end. Okay, let's do the quiz first.
Yes, let's start the quiz. Bapak Ibu semua, kita akan memulai quiz. Nanti silakan bagi teman-teman yang ada di YouTube juga boleh ikut. Silahkan masuk ke www.menti.com atau silakan di-scan barcode yang ada di sini. Tolong nanti namanya dimasukkan nama lengkap supaya nanti kalau misalnya ternyata memenangkan kuisnya, kita bisa mengirimkan hadiahnya. Teman-teman di YouTube juga silakan ikut karena ada delay antara Zoom dengan YouTube. Jadi saya kasih waktu untuk kita tunggu siapa saja yang mendaftar untuk ikut kompetisinya. Masuk ke www.menti.com, masukkan kodenya 747130. Bung Iwan, Bung Jeff, Bu Melati nggak boleh ikut ya. Oke, kalau sudah pada masuk semua, kita bisa mulai kuisnya. Oke, baru ada 17 orang yang ikut kompetisi. Apakah masih ada? 20? 21? Oke, kalau 25 kita start ya. Apakah ada lagi yang mau ikut? Oke, kita mulai ya. Waktunya 20 detik, silakan kita mulai sekarang. Pertanyaannya adalah, Natasia lulusan universitas mana? Yeay, ada 20 yang menjawab UC Berkeley. Coba kita lihat siapa pemenangnya. Oke, Ibu Verena ya. Baik, kita lanjut ke pertanyaan berikutnya. 20 detik ya. Apa perusahaan startup Natasia yang pertama? Wah, ada 15 memilih Suligan. Coba kita lihat siapa pemenangnya. Oke, Ibu Verena masih leading. Pertanyaan terakhir. Who acquired Wyzerr? Ayo, ada yang ingat tadi sempat disebut. Oh, belum, nggak ada yang jawab. Ada 18 yang jawab. Yes, coba kita lihat siapa yang menang.
Oh,
Yeay, Ibu Verena pemenangnya. Baik, nanti kita akan kirimkan hadiahnya ke Ibu Verena ya. Baik, teman-teman, sebelum kita, terima kasih, nanti kita akan hubungi siapa yang pemenang. Terakhir, berhubungan dengan semangat yang kita lakukan melalui Bacarita dari Timur, kami dari Daya 5 juga tidak bosan-bosannya dalam rangka 75 tahun Indonesia. Kita melakukan survei untuk bangsa. Senang sekali kalau kita mendapatkan tambahan kontribusi responden dari teman-teman semua. Mohon bantuan teman-teman semua untuk mengisi respondennya. Oh ya, mohon maaf sebelumnya saya info terlebih dahulu bahwa webinar kita nanti selanjutnya adalah dengan Bapak Doni Monardo ya, Bung Iwan ya. Tanggal 11 September, jangan lupa mendaftar. Nanti itu akan jam 2 waktu Jakarta dan jam 4 waktu Ambon. Jangan lupa, nanti akan diinformasikan lagi linknya. Nah, ini adalah komunitas kita, silakan bergabung untuk update-update informasinya. Dan terakhir kembali saya sampaikan, senang sekali kalau kami bisa mendapatkan dukungan lagi dari saudara-saudara kita semua untuk bisa mengisi survei ini. Silahkan mengarahkan handphonenya kepada barcode yang ada di sini, ataupun dengan mengetik bit.ly/survei-nilai. Ada 3 pertanyaan. Yang pertama adalah apa nilai-nilai atau prinsip-prinsip yang dipegang oleh teman-teman semua, yang 10 paling top 10 saja. Kemudian pertanyaannya yang kedua adalah nilai-nilai yang teman-teman semua lihat saat ini hidup di dalam sekitar lingkungan kita. Dan yang terakhir adalah 10 yang diharapkan hadir di Indonesia. Senang sekali kalau teman-teman bisa mengisi ini sehingga kita bisa membuat Indonesia sebagai tempat yang menyenangkan bagi generasi kita yang akan datang. Itu saja dari saya. Terima kasih atas supportnya. Bung Iwan, saya rasa sekarang kita bisa mulai menyalakan apa namanya?
Mikrofon sebelumnya.
Mikrofon ke semua ya, sebentar.
Nah, sebentar Bu Linda, jangan dinyalain dulu. Saya ingin mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Daya 5 yang sudah mensupport kita sejauh ini. Sama-sama. Luar biasa sekali support mereka, dari Bu Linda, Jos, Dimitri, dan semua tim dari Daya 5 beserta dengan para direktur-direktur Daya 5 yang tidak henti-hentinya memberikan dukungan pada kami dari Basudara Maluku Global dan Bahasa Basudara, sehingga kita bisa melakukan webinar-webinar setiap 2 minggu ya. Sekali lagi, thank you, very much appreciated, Bu Linda. Ya.
Sama-sama, Bung Iwan. Tadi Bu Enda, Bu Meike say hi. Tadi Bu Meike sempat bergabung juga di Zoom dan Bu Enda di YouTube. Mereka ada meeting. Oke, baik. Saya unmute semua nih ya.
Everyone can say hello to Natasia, all the families. So, open.
Yes. Hold on. How to? Okay, everybody can unmute yourself now.
Yes. Thank you, Natasia.
Hi, thank you,
Natasia. Thank you, Natasia.
Hi, everyone.
God bless you. Thank you, Bung Iwan.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Tasya.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Bung Jeki.
Dadah, Natasia.
Thank you, Batu. Bisa.
Saya nggak ada nyanyi kah?
Thank you, Bung Jeki.
Bung Jeki nyanyi. Jeki pimpin nyanyi, Bung Jeki.
Gak tahu nyanyi lagu apa nih? Gandong Kacau Mama.
Gandong, gandong, gandong.
Gandong, oke, tarik gandong.
Bung Jeki tarik.
Gandong lah, mari gandong. Mari
Beta mau bilang ale. Satu dua satu gandong. Hidup hadirin kakak, sungguh manislah ale rasa beta. Satu dua satu gandong.
Kita
Cuma satu satu hati, satu
Tasia Pumama solo dulu.
Mari
Beta maju Maluku.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
God bless. Thank you. God bless you all.
Have a nice
God bless you all.
Bye, Cecil. Bye, Cecil.
Bless day, Natasia.
Bye.
Jeff, thank you.
Ini yang cerita di Kinta lama nih, cerita di Kinta lama nih.
Boleh.